What happens when an empire's stability hangs by a thread, and its only constant is the coin in your hand? In this second episode, we trace the dramatic evolution of Roman coinage from the Severan dynasty to the fall of the Western Empire. As emperors rose and fell, coins became both a reflection of chaos and a desperate tool for control. From military propaganda to Christian iconography, and from economic collapse to golden resurrection, these coins tell the forgotten story of a world in transformation. What made Constantine's coinage a turning point in both faith and finance? And how did Roman money survive long after the empire's fall in the West? Let's uncover the hidden messages, reforms, and symbolism that shaped history through the coins that never stopped speaking. If you're fascinated by ancient secrets and powerful empires, don't forget to subscribe, hit like, and tap the notification bell so you won't miss any upcoming stories from Best of History and Mythology. Septimius Severus rose to power through military strength, and his coinage reflected this foundation. His early denarii prominently featured Victoria, the goddess of victory, reinforcing his battlefield successes. The Legio Parthica series celebrated his triumph over the Parthian Empire, depicting bound captives and war trophies. By emphasizing his military campaigns, Severus legitimized his rule and secured loyalty among the legions. To further strengthen his dynasty, he introduced coinage featuring his wife, Julia Domna, and their two sons, Caracalla and Geta. Julia Domna's coins promoted her as Mater Castrorum, Mother of the Camps, reinforcing her influence over Rome's military elite. This was a crucial departure from previous imperial coinage, where empresses were rarely associated with the legions. The messaging underscored the growing role of the army in determining political stability. Caracalla, upon ascending the throne, took military propaganda to new levels. His coinage shifted toward aggressive imagery, depicting him in full armor with a menacing scowl, a stark contrast to the composed portraits of earlier emperors. His Antoninianus series, a new silver coin introduced during his reign, bore inscriptions like Marti Propugnatori to Mars the Defender, emphasizing Rome's warrior ethos. The issuance of legionary pay, raises, and increased military spending coincided with his debasement of silver coinage, fueling inflation while securing soldier loyalty. After Caracalla's assassination, Macrinus briefly attempted financial reform, issuing coins with fides militum, loyalty of the army, to reassure the legions. However, his lack of direct military credentials led to his downfall. The young Elagabalus, installed by the Praetorian Guard, focused his numismatic imagery on religious themes, particularly the cult of Sol Invictus. While his gold aurae displayed elaborate sunburst motifs, his failure to command military respect sealed his fate. Severus Alexander sought to restore stability, issuing coins that revived traditional values, including Pax Eterna, eternal peace, and Providentia Augusti, foresight of the emperor. However, his reluctance to engage in direct military leadership alienated the legions, leading to his assassination. With his death, Rome plunged into crisis, marking the end of Severan rule and the beginning of an era dominated by soldier emperors. The assassination of Severus Alexander in 235 AD plunged Rome into the crisis of the 3rd century, a period of near-constant civil war, economic collapse, and external invasions. The rapid turnover of emperors, many of whom were military usurpers, led to unprecedented instability in Roman coinage. Each new ruler minted vast quantities of coins to pay soldiers, leading to rampant inflation and the degradation of the once reliable denarius. Do you think loyalty in politics should be bought or earned? In ancient Rome, emperors paid soldiers to secure their power. But what do you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters. One of the most striking changes during this era was the debasement of silver coinage. The Antoninianus, introduced by Caracalla, had initially contained some silver, but by the mid-3rd century, it was mostly bronze with only a thin silver wash. This decline in purity eroded public confidence, forcing traders to demand higher prices for goods, further fueling economic turmoil. Gallienus, one of the few long-reigning emperors of this chaotic century, attempted to stabilize the empire through military and administrative reforms. His coinage reflected these efforts, emphasizing divine protection. The Securitas Temporum, Security of the Times series, sought to reassure citizens, while Jupiter Conservator, Jupiter the Protector, reinforced his divine legitimacy. Despite these messages, his inability to fully control the empire allowed regional breakaway states, like the Gallic Empire, to issue their own currency. Aurelian, who briefly reunited the fractured empire, implemented crucial monetary reforms. His new Aurelianus coin, with a slightly improved silver content, aimed to restore confidence in Rome's currency. His Sol Invictus, Unconquered Sun series, established the sun god as a unifying imperial symbol, reinforcing both religious and political authority. His assassination cut short further reforms, but his efforts laid the groundwork for future stabilization. By the time Diocletian took power in 284 AD, Rome's financial system was near collapse. His sweeping currency reforms, including the introduction of the folies, a large bronze coin with a higher silver content, marked a turning point. He also issued edicts attempting to control prices and wages, though these largely failed due to inflationary pressures. His numismatic legacy was one of transformation. His policies set the stage for the empire's eventual transition into the late Roman period, where gold coinage would dominate imperial finances. Constantine the Great revolutionized Roman coinage, using it to cement his power and redefine the empire's religious identity. His early issues followed traditional pagan motifs featuring Sol Invictus, Mars, and Jupiter, reinforcing his military authority. However, after his victory at the Battle of the Milvian Bridge in 312 AD, where he attributed his success to the Christian god, his numismatic propaganda underwent a dramatic transformation. The introduction of Christian symbolism on Roman coinage marked a turning point in imperial messaging. One of Constantine's most significant changes was the use of the Chi-Rho, the Christogram, which appeared on coins alongside inscriptions such as Hoc Signo Victor Eris, by this sign you will conquer. This shift aligned the emperor with divine favor, portraying him not just as a ruler but as an instrument of God's will. His economic reforms were equally transformative. The solidus, a high-purity gold coin introduced around 310 AD, replaced the debased aureus, becoming the backbone of the imperial economy. Unlike earlier coinage, which had suffered from inflation and silver degradation, the solidus maintained its weight and quality, ensuring stability. This coin would remain in circulation for over 1,000 years, influencing Byzantine and medieval European currency. If you've made it this far, you're clearly as passionate about history as we are. So take a second to subscribe to Best of History and Mythology, leave a like, and hit the bell icon so you never miss our deep dives into the past's most powerful stories. Constantine also redefined the imperial portrait. His coins abandoned the traditional Roman naturalism, instead presenting a stylized, almost divine figure with wide, staring eyes, an intentional shift toward an image of sacred kingship. The emperor's visage was often accompanied by the inscription Dominus Noster Constantinus, our Lord Constantine, reflecting his absolute authority. The construction of Constantinople, his new capital, was immortalized in his numismatic program. Coins from this period featured the personification of the city, depicted as a helmeted warrior, symbolizing its role as the new center of imperial power. His Urbs, Roma and Constantinopolis issues honored both the legacy of Rome and the rise of the Eastern Empire, bridging the transition between old traditions and the Christian future. By the end of his reign, pagan deities had nearly vanished from Roman coinage. Christian iconography, imperial divinity, and economic stability became intertwined, setting the stage for the religious and political shifts that would define the empire in the centuries to come. Can a symbol on a coin change the course of history? Constantine believed it could. Do you think modern leaders still use symbols the same way? Share your opinion in the comments. Your insight fuels the discussion. By the late 4th century, the Western Roman Empire was in irreversible decline. Economic instability, barbarian invasions, and political fragmentation eroded imperial authority, and coinage reflected this collapse. The once mighty solidus remained the backbone of the economy, but silver and bronze coinage suffered extreme debasement. The siliqua, originally a reliable silver denomination, was reduced to a thin, nearly worthless fraction of its former value. The reign of Honorius, 395–423 AD, saw Rome's monetary system strained by constant warfare. His coinage emphasized defensive themes, with inscriptions like VRTVS exercives, bravery of the army, attempting to inspire confidence as Germanic tribes pushed deeper into Roman territory. However, the empire's ability to finance its legions weakened, leading to reliance on mercenary forces paid with increasingly debased currency. During the sack of Rome in 410 AD by Alaric's Visigoths, minting operations in the city were disrupted, shifting production to Ravenna and other provincial mints. The imagery on these coins reflected a desperate empire. Imperial figures became increasingly abstract, with rough, less detailed engravings. The once dominant pagan deities had disappeared entirely, replaced by Christian symbols like the Chi-Rho and crosses, reinforcing the empire's religious transformation even as its political control crumbled. By the time of Valentinian III, 425–455 AD, gold coinage remained stable, but bronze issues such as the numis had become nearly worthless. Small, irregularly shaped, and crudely struck, these coins signified the empire's financial ruin. The emperor's reliance on local rulers and military generals, such as Flavius Aetius, further diminished central authority, and regions of the empire began issuing their own currency in imitation of Roman designs. The final decades saw a Western empire in name only. By the reign of Romulus Augustulus, 475–476 AD, the last Roman emperor, coinage had become a mere shadow of its former glory. His few surviving issues, mostly small gold tremises, reflect a ruler with little actual control. When Odoacer deposed him in 476 AD, he did not even bother striking new coins in his own name, marking the symbolic end of the Roman monetary system in the West. However, in the Eastern Roman Empire, later known as Byzantium, the legacy of Roman coinage endured. The solidus continued to circulate, maintaining economic stability for centuries. While the Western Empire fell, its currency left a lasting impact, influencing medieval European monetary systems and preserving the Roman tradition in the Byzantine world. Empires fall, but their coins still whisper their legacy. Thank you for watching, and we'll meet again in our next journey through history, here on Best of History and Mythology.